There is a lie that has been repeated so many times by financial gurus, television personalities, and self-help authors that it has become accepted as absolute truth. It is a lie that is keeping you poor, keeping you anxious, and keeping you distracted from the real robbery happening in your bank account. You have heard it 1,000 times. They tell you that the reason you cannot afford a house, the reason you are drowning in debt, and the reason you will never retire is because you buy a $5 cup of coffee every morning. They call it the Latte Factor. They tell you that if you just made coffee at home, if you just cut out the avocado toast, if you just stopped having that little bit of joy in your day, you would miraculously become a millionaire. I am here to tell you that this is mathematically absurd, psychologically damaging, and fundamentally wrong. In fact, obsessing over $5 purchases is exactly what the system wants you to do. It wants you looking down at the pennies on the floor so you don't look up and see the thousands of dollars flying out of the window. Today we are going to dismantle the Latte Factor myth once and for all. We are going to look at the cold, hard data of what actually makes people broke in the modern economy. We are going to expose the 3 silent killers of wealth that nobody wants to talk about because they are uncomfortable and difficult to fix. And I am going to show you why the path to wealth has nothing to do with deprivation and everything to do with structural decision making. If you are tired of feeling guilty about buying a sandwich while you work 60 hours a week, you need to listen to every second of this video because we are about to flip the script on traditional financial advice. Let's start with the math, because numbers do not lie, people do. Let's say you are the irresponsible spender the gurus talk about. You buy a fancy $5 latte every single day of the year. No days off. That is $5 times 365 days. That equals $1,825 a year. Now, is $1,800 a significant amount of money? Sure, if you are starving, it is a lot. But let's look at the big picture. The average home price in a major city is now over $500,000. Do you really think saving $1,800 a year is going to bridge the gap to a down payment? At that rate, it would take you nearly 30 years just to save a 10% down payment. And by then, inflation will have doubled the price of the house anyway. The math simply does not work. You cannot save your way to wealth by cutting tiny expenses. You can cut every single joy out of your life. No coffee, no Netflix, no gym, no nights out. And you might save $3,000 or $4,000 a year. Meanwhile, the cost of living, rent, and healthcare is rising by 10 times that amount. The Latte Factor is a distraction. It is gaslighting. It is a way for the wealthy establishment to blame the poor for being poor. They say you aren't broke because wages have stagnated since the 1970s. You're broke because you have no self-control. Do not accept that narrative. It is designed to make you feel small and powerless. So, if the coffee isn't the problem, what is? What is the actual mechanism that drains the wealth of the middle class? It is what I call the Big 3. These are the 3 structural decisions that determine 90% of your financial destiny. If you get these 3 wrong, you can drink tap water and eat dry rice for the rest of your life, and you will still be broke. If you get these 3 right, you can drink Starbucks every day, drive a nice car, and still retire rich. The first and most dangerous of the Big 3 is housing. We have been brainwashed into believing that we must buy the biggest house the bank will approve us for. We are told that a house is an asset. But for most people, their primary residence is not an asset. It is a liability. It is a money pit. When you sign a 30-year mortgage for a house that stretches your budget to the limit, you are walking into a trap. Let's look at the numbers again. Most people spend 35% to 50% of their take-home pay on housing. If you make $4,000 a month and you spend $2,000 on rent or a mortgage, you are bleeding out. That extra bedroom you needed? That cost you an extra $300 a month in mortgage payments, plus heating, cooling, and taxes. That is $3, $600 a year. That one decision, choosing the slightly bigger apartment or the slightly nicer house, cost you double what your daily coffee habit costs. But nobody yells at you for buying a nice house. They congratulate you. They bring you a bottle of wine. They celebrate your financial suicide. The pressure to keep up with the Joneses regarding where you live is the single biggest destroyer of wealth. If you are house poor, you have zero margin for error. You are one layoff away from disaster. And yet, we focus on the coffee. The second silent killer is transportation. This is where the American and European middle class completely loses its mind. We have normalized the idea that it is okay to have a car payment that rivals a mortgage payment. I see people making $50,000 a year driving $40,000 trucks. They finance them for 7 years at 8% interest. Let's break down the true cost of that car. It's not just the $600 monthly payment. It's the $150 insurance. It's the $200 gas. It's the maintenance. It's the depreciation. A new car loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. If you buy a $40,000 car, you just set $8,000 on fire in 5 minutes. That is 4 years of lattes gone in seconds. But again, nobody shames you for the car. In fact, the car is a status symbol. It signals to the world, I have made it. But in reality, it signals, I am bad at math. If you drive a car that you cannot buy in cash, or at least pay off in 3 years, you are driving your retirement fund. The opportunity cost is staggering. If you took that $600 car payment and invested it in the S&P 500 for the 7 years you are paying off the car, you would have nearly $75,000. Would you trade your Ford F-150 for $75,000 in cash? Most people would say yes, but their actions say no. They prioritize the appearance of wealth over the reality of wealth. They choose the shiny metal box over their own freedom. The third killer is significantly more subtle, and it is what keeps you on the hamster wheel forever. Taxation and inflation. These are the invisible hands in your pocket. You don't see them, but you feel them. When you work a standard W-2 job, you are the most heavily taxed entity in the economic system. The government takes their cut before you even touch the money. Then, when you spend what is left, you pay sales tax. When you own a home, you pay property tax. And then, inflation eats away at the purchasing power of whatever you manage to save. The Latte Factor ignores this macroeconomic reality. It assumes that $1 saved today is worth $1 tomorrow. It isn't. This is why saving your way to wealth is a losing game. You cannot outsave a system that is designed to devalue your currency. The only way to beat this is not by cutting expenses, but by increasing income and owning assets. This leads us to the most controversial point of this entire philosophy. You do not have a spending problem. You have an income problem. This is the pill that is hardest to swallow. It is much easier to feel in control by denying yourself a coffee than it is to admit that your skills are undervalued in the marketplace. It is easier to budget $3,000 a month than to figure out how to make $10,000 a month. But the ceiling on saving is low. There is a limit to how much you can cut. You can't cut your expenses to zero. You have to eat. You have to live. But the ceiling on earning is infinite. There is no limit to how much money you can make if you acquire the right skills. The Latte Factor mindset keeps you in a defensive crouch. You are always playing defense, always trying to protect what little you have. Wealth is built on offense. Wealth is built by asking, how can I double my income? Not, how can I save $3? When you focus on pennies, your brain runs out of bandwidth to think about the big moves. This is a concept called decision fatigue. You have a limited amount of mental energy every day. If you burn all that energy stressing over whether to buy the generic brand of pasta or the name brand to save 50 cents, you have zero energy left to negotiate your salary, to learn a new skill, or to start a side business. You are exhausting yourself on the trivial, so you can ignore the essential. This is exactly where the system wants you. Tired, stressed, and focused on the small stuff, while the big opportunities pass you by. Let's talk about the psychological cost of the Latte Factor. What happens to your soul when you live a life of constant deprivation? What happens when you tell yourself no to every single small pleasure for decades? You become miserable, and miserable people make bad financial decisions. This is the binge purge cycle. You starve yourself of joy for 3 months, saving every penny, eating rice and beans, and then you snap. You feel so deprived that you go out and blow $500 on a weekend bender, or you buy a gadget you don't need, just to feel something, just to feel alive. It is the same as a crash diet. Diets that forbid you from ever eating chocolate fail 99% of the time. Diets that allow for moderation succeed. Financial diets are the same. That morning coffee might be the one ritual that gives you peace, that lets you sit for 10 minutes and gather your thoughts before the chaos of the workday begins. That mental clarity is worth way more than $5. It might be the fuel that helps you get that promotion. By cutting it, you are depressing your own morale. You are treating yourself like a robot, not a human. And robots don't build wealth. Visionaries do. You need to build a life you don't need to escape from. If a cup of coffee makes your day 10% better, buy the damn coffee. But make sure you aren't bleeding thousands on the car you drove to the coffee shop. So what is the actual solution? If we ignore the gurus and their latte shaming, what is the blueprint? It is what I call the big win strategy. The strategy is simple. Be ruthless with the big things so you can be relaxed with the small things. I want you to sit down and look at your housing. Is it taking up more than 30% of your income? If yes, that is an emergency. You need to move, get a roommate, or house hack, meaning you buy a duplex, live in one side, and rent out the other. That one move can save you $1,000 a month. That is 200 lattes. Look at your car. Are you making payments? Sell it. Buy a reliable used car for cash. That saves you $500 a month plus insurance costs. Look at your tax strategy. Are you using tax-advantaged accounts, like a 401k or an IRA? Are you expensing business costs if you have a side hustle? These 3 decisions, housing, cars, taxes, can free up $20,000 a year or more. Once you get those right, the price of coffee becomes irrelevant. You can drink 5 coffees a day and it won't matter, because the structural pillars of your financial life are sound. The wealthy understand this. Do you think a millionaire worries about the price of gas? Do you think they worry about the price of milk? No. They worry about asset allocation. They worry about market trends. They worry about leverage. They focus on the macro, not the micro. And you need to start thinking like them. You need to adopt an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. Scarcity says, there is not enough, I must hoard. Abundance says, I can create more, I must invest. When you shift your focus from cutting costs to expanding value, everything changes. You stop looking at your boss as a master who gives you a ration of money, and you start looking at yourself as a business of one. Your labor is a product. Are you selling it to the highest bidder? Are you improving the product? Are you marketing it correctly? This is how you escape poverty, not by saving $5, but by becoming worth $500 an hour. There is another layer to this lie, and it is the concept of guilt. The financial industry thrives on your guilt. If you feel guilty about spending money, you are easier to control. You are more likely to buy their debt consolidation products or their budgeting apps. They want you to feel like a sinner so they can sell you salvation. I am giving you permission right now to stop feeling guilty. If you are working 40 or 50 hours a week, you contribute to society. You deserve to participate in the economy you helped build. You deserve small luxuries. Do not let a millionaire on TV who flies private jets tell you that you are broke because you bought a sandwich. It is hypocrisy of the highest order. It is a distraction from the fact that wages have flatlined while corporate profits have skyrocketed. They want you blaming yourself so you don't blame the system. But once you see the game, you can stop playing by their rules. You can stop counting pennies and start stacking bricks. Imagine a year from now. You didn't cut the coffee. In fact, you found a better cafe. But you moved into a cheaper apartment that is closer to work, saving you money on gas and rent. You sold the car that was draining your wallet and bought a paid-off sedan. You used that freed-up mental energy to take a course on weekends. And you leveraged that new skill to negotiate a 20% raise at work. You are now saving $2,000 a month, not by depriving yourself, but by restructuring your life. You look at your bank account and it is growing fast. You feel light. You feel powerful. You walk into that coffee shop, order your favorite drink, and you pay for it with a smile, knowing that it is a fraction of your income. That is financial freedom. Freedom is not the absence of spending. It is the absence of worry. It is knowing that you have mastered the big levers of your life, so the small levers don't matter. This path requires courage. It is scary to sell the nice car. It is scary to move. It is scary to ask for a raise. It is much easier to just skip the coffee and feel like a martyr. But you are not looking for easy. You are looking for effective. You are looking for the truth. And the truth is that you can have the latte and you can have the wealth, but you cannot have the excuses. You have to choose. Are you going to be a penny pincher? Someone who dies with $1 million in the bank but never lived a day in their life? Or are you going to be a wealth builder? Someone who uses money as a tool to design a life of freedom and abundance? The choice is yours. The Latte Factor is a lie designed to keep you small. Break out of the box. Look at the big picture. Attack the real enemies of your wealth. I want you to make a pact with me today. Stop stressing about the small stuff. I want you to identify one big win you can execute this month. Maybe it is calling your insurance company to lower your rate. Maybe it is listing that car for sale. Maybe it is setting a meeting with your boss. Whatever it is, focus your energy there. If you are ready to stop playing small and start playing the real game of money, I want you to comment below with this phrase: I focus on big wins. Let the algorithm know that we are done with the penny pinching mindset. We are here to build empires, not to count crumbs. And if this video opened your eyes to the reality of your finances, destroy that like button. It helps us spread this message to other people who are trapped in the guilt cycle. Make sure you are subscribed to the Ascent, because in the next video, I am going to show you exactly how to tackle the income side of the equation and double your earnings. You do not want to miss that. Drink your coffee, enjoy your life, and go make some real money. I'll see you at the top.